The Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt is a Sunni Islamist religious, political, and social movement. It is, or was, considered the largest, best organized political force in Egypt, estimated by different sources to have 2 million or 2.5 million adherent supporters. Founded in Egypt by Hassan al-Banna in March 1928, the group spread to other Muslim countries but has its largest, or one of its largest, organizations in Egypt despite a succession of government crackdowns in 1948, 1954, 1965, and 2013 after plots, or alleged plots, of assassination and overthrow were uncovered. Following the 2011 Egyptian revolution, it first had great success. It launched a civic political party the Freedom and Justice Party to contest elections, which it described as having the same mission and goals, but different roles than the Brotherhood, and agreeing to honor all Egypt's international agreements. The party won almost half the seats in the 2011 12 parliamentary elections, and its candidate, Mohamed Morsi, won the June 2012 presidential election. However, Morsi was overthrown after mass protests within a year and a crackdown ensued that some have called more damaging to the movement than any in 8 decades. Hundreds of members were killed, and hundreds, including Morsi and most of the Brotherhood's leadership, were imprisoned. Among the general Egyptian population, a huge hostility was felt towards the MB. In September 2013, Egyptian court banned the Brotherhood and its associations, and ordered that its assets be seized. And in December the military-backed interim government declared the movement a terrorist group following the bombing of Security Directorate building in Mansoura. History. Under the monarchy, the Muslim Brotherhood was founded in 1928 by Hassan al-Banna, an Egyptian schoolteacher, who preached implementing traditional Islamic Sharia law in all aspects of life, from everyday problems to the organization of the government. Inspired by Islamic reformers Muhammad Abduh and Rashid Rida, he believed that Islam had lost its social dominance to corrupt Western influences and British imperial rule. The organization initially focused on educational and charitable work, but quickly grew to become a major political force as well. It championed the cause of poor Muslims, and played a prominent role in the Egyptian nationalist movement, fighting the British, Egypt's occupier-dominator. It engaged in espionage and sabotage, as well as support for terrorist activities orchestrated by Hajj Amin al-Husseini in British Mandate Palestine, and up to and during World War II some association with Britain's enemy, the German Nazis, dissemination of anti-Jewish, and anti-Western propaganda. Over the years, the Brotherhood spread to other Muslim countries, including Syria, Jordan, Tunisia, etc., as well as countries where Muslims are in the minority. These groups are sometimes described as very loosely affiliated with the Egyptian branch and each other. In November 1948, following several bombings and assassination attempts, the government arrested 32 leaders of the Brotherhood's secret apparatus, and banned the Brotherhood. At this time the Brotherhood was estimated to have 2,000 branches and 500,000 members or sympathizers. In succeeding months Egypt's Prime Minister was assassinated by Brotherhood member, and following that al-Banna himself was assassinated in what is thought to be a cycle of retaliation. In 1952, members of the Muslim Brotherhood are accused of taking part in an event that marked the end of Egypt's liberal, progressive, cosmopolitan era an arson fire that destroyed some 750 buildings in downtown Cairo mainly nightclubs, theaters, hotels, and restaurants frequented by British and other foreigners. After the 1952 revolution. In 1952 the monarchy was overthrown by nationalist military officers of the Free Officers Movement. While the Brotherhood supported the coup, it vigorously opposed the secularist constitution that the coup leaders were developing. In 1954 another unsuccessful assassination was attempted against Egypt's Prime Minister, and blamed on the secret apparatus of the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood was again banned and this time thousands of its members were imprisoned, many of them held for years in prisons and sometimes tortured. One of them was the very influential theorist, Sayyid Qutb, who before being executed in 1966, issued a manifesto proclaiming that Muslim society had become Jahiliyyah and that Islam must be restored by the overthrow of Muslim states by an Islamic vanguard, also revitalizing the ideal of Islamic universalism. Qutb's ideology became very influential outside of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood, but the Brotherhood's leadership distanced itself from Qutb and adhered to non-violent reformist posture. Imprisoned brothers were gradually released after Anwar Sadat became president of Egypt in 1970, and were sometimes enlisted to help fight Sadat's leftist opposition. Brethren were allowed to publish the magazine Daya, though the organization remained illegal. During this time, more radical Qutb-inspired Islamist groups blossomed, and after he signing a peace agreement with Israel in 1979, became confirmed enemies of Sadat. Sadat was assassinated by a violent Islamist group Tanzim al-Jihad on October 6, 1981, shortly after he had Brotherhood leaders arrested. Mubarak era, again with a new president, Brotherhood leaders were released from prison. Mubarak cracked down hard against radical Islamists but offered an olive branch to the more moderate Brethren. The Brethren reciprocated, going so far as to endorse Mubarak's unregistered trademark's candidacy for president in 1987. The Brotherhood dominated the professional and student associations of Egypt and was famous for its network of social services in neighborhoods and villages. However, the government did not approve of the Brotherhood's renewed influence, and resorted to repressive measures starting in 1992. In the 2000 parliamentary elections, the Muslim Brotherhood won 17 parliamentary seats. In 2005, it won 88 seats to form the largest opposition bloc, despite the arrest of hundreds of Brotherhood members. It lost almost all but one of these seats in the much less free 2010 election, which was marred by massive arrests of both Brethren and polling place observers. Under Egypt's emergency law, Brethren could only stand as independents, but were easily identified since they campaigned under the slogan Islam is the solution. During and after the 2005 election, the Brethren launched what some have called a charm offensive. Its leadership talked about its responsibility to lead reform and change in Egypt. It addressed the Coptic issue, insinuating that the Brethren would do away with Egypt's decades-old church-building permit system that Coptic Christians felt was discriminatory. Internationally, the Brethren launched an English-language website, and some of the Muslim Brotherhood's leaders participated in an initiative to reintroduce the Brotherhood to the West, listing and addressing many Western misconceptions about the Brotherhood. Seeing this campaign as a direct threat to its position as an indispensable ally of the West against radical Islamism, the Egyptian government introduced an amendment to the constitution that removed the reference to Islam as the religion of the state, and would have allowed women and Christians to run for the presidency. Brotherhood MPs responded by walking out of parliament rather than voting on the bill. In addition, the movement has also reportedly played into the government's hands, provoking non-Islamist Egyptians by staging a militia-style march by masked Brotherhood students at Cairo's Al-Azhar University, complete with uniforms and martial arts drills, reminding many of the Brotherhood's era of secret cells. According to another observer, after a number of conciliatory engagements and interactions with the West, the Brotherhood retreated into its comfort zone of inflammatory rhetoric intended for local consumption. All suicide bombers are martyrs. Israel regularly became the Jews. Even its theological discourse became more confrontational and oriented to social conservatism. 2 years later, the Egyptian government amended the constitution, skewing future representation against independent candidates for parliament, which are the only candidates the Brotherhood can field. The state delayed local council elections from 2006 to 2008, disqualifying most Muslim Brotherhood candidates. The Muslim Brotherhood boycotted the election. The government incarcerated thousands of rank-and-file Muslim Brotherhood members in a wave of arrests and military trials, the harshest such security clampdown on the Brotherhood in decades. 2011 Revolution and Morsi. Following the 2011 revolution that overthrew Hosni Mubarak, the Brotherhood was legalized and emerged as the most powerful, and most cohesive political movement in Egypt. Its newly formed political party won 2 referendums, far more seats than any other party in the 2011 Euro-12 parliamentary election, and its candidate Mohamed Morsi won the 2012 presidential election. However, within a year there were mass protests against his rule and he was overthrown by the military. In the January-February 2011 uprising itself, the Brotherhood remained on the sidelines, but even before it was officially legalized it launched a new party called the Freedom and Justice Party. The party rejected the candidacy of women or Copts for Egypt's presidency, although it did not oppose their taking cabinet positions. In its first election the party won almost half of 498 seats in the 2011 Euro-12 Egyptian parliamentary election. In the first couple of years after the revolution, critics speculated about both secret collusion between the Brotherhood and the powerful military, and a looming showdown between the two. The Brotherhood and the military both supported the March constitutional referendum, which most Egyptian liberals opposed as favoring established political organizations. It was said to have stopped the second revolution against military rule by remaining uninvolved during violent clashes between revolutionaries and the military in late 2011, and protests over the thousands of secretive military trials of civilians. Egyptian author Ezzedine C. Fisher worried that the Brotherhood had managed to alienate its revolutionary and democratic partners and to scare important segments of society, especially women and Christians. Neither the Brotherhood nor the generals showed willingness to share power, and both were keen on marginalizing the revolutionary and democratic forces. It is as if they were clearing the stage for their eventual showdown. While the ruling Supreme Council of the Armed Forces dissolved the parliament dominated by the Brotherhood and other Islamists, the Brotherhood won the presidential election, defeating Ahmed Shafik, a former military officer and Prime Minister of Mubarak. Within a short period, serious public opposition developed to President Morsi. In late November 2012 he temporarily granted himself the power to legislate without judicial oversight or review of his acts, on the grounds that he needed to protect the nation from the Mubarak-era power structure. He also put a draft constitution to a referendum that opponents complained was a Euro-an Islamist coup, these sways and concerns over the prosecutions of journalists, the unleashing of pro-Brotherhood gangs on non-violent demonstrators, the continuation of military trials, and new laws that permitted detention without judicial review for up to 30 days, and impunity given to Islamist radical attacks on Christians and other minorities brought hundreds of thousands of protesters to the streets starting in November 2012. During Morsi's year-long rule there were 9,000 protests and strikes. By April 2013, Egypt had become increasingly divided between President Mohamed Morsi and Islamist allies, and an opposition of moderate Muslims, Christians and liberals. Opponents accused Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood of seeking to monopolize power, while Morsi unregistered trademark S allies say the opposition is trying to destabilize the country to derail the elected leadership. Adding to the unrest were severe fuel shortages and electricity outages which evidence suggests were orchestrated by Mubarak-era Egyptian elites. By June 29 the Tamarod movement announced it had collected more than 22 million signatures calling for Morsi to step down. A day later somewhere between 17 and 33 million Egyptian protesters demonstrated across Egypt urging Morsi to step down. A lesser number demonstrated in support of him. Post-2013 Egyptian revolution, on July 3, the head of the Egyptian Armed Forces, General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, announced President Mohamed Morsi's removal by the 2013 Egyptian coup d'état copyright suspension of the constitution. Brotherhood supporters staged from sit-ins throughout the country, setting up camps and shutting down traffic. The crackdown that followed has been called the worst for the Brotherhood's organization in 8 decades. On August 14, the military declared a month-long state of emergency and commenced raids to remove the camps. In retaliation, Brotherhood supporters looted and burned police stations and dozens of churches. Violence escalated rapidly, lasting several days and resulting in the deaths of 638 people and injury of some 4,000. By August 19, Al Jazeera reported that most of the Brotherhood's leaders were in custody. On that day Supreme Leader Mohammed Baidi was arrested, crossing a red line, as even Hosni Mubarak had never arrested him. On September 23, a court ordered the group outlawed and its assets seized. 2 days later security forces shuttered the main office of the newspaper of the Freedom and Justice Party, and confiscated its equipment. Muslim Brotherhood criticized the decision to seize its assets and those of MB-linked charities as opening the door to Christian charities and part of a campaign against Islam. Some question whether the military and security services can effectively crush the Brotherhood. Unlike the last major crackdown in the 1950s, when Egypt's public sphere and information space was tightly controlled, the Brotherhood has a larger and broader international presence beyond the reach of Egypt's government to sustain itself. Authors such as Hussein Ibish and journalist Peter Hessler believe it's unlikely that the Brotherhood will return to political prominence soon, because of its aggressive but incompetent performance while in power. According to Hessler, the group antagonized the powerful entrenched government institutions, the news media and millions of non-supporters, acting with just enough aggression to provoke an outsized response, while not having nearly enough military resources to defend itself against that response. It no longer leads the opposition to the coup, and has even lost its religious credibility, such that at mosques, even staunch opponents of the coup told me that they wouldn't vote for the Brotherhood again. Hussein Ibish believes the Brotherhood is being challenged by the Salafi movement, and is undergoing a crisis so severe that, what ultimately emerges from the current wreckage, may be unrecognizably different from the traditional Brotherhood. A day after the 2013 bombing of a security directorate building in Mansoura, the military-backed interim government declared the Muslim Brotherhood movement a terrorist group despite the fact that another group, the Sinai-based Ansar Bayt el-Maqdis, claimed responsibility for the blast. On March 24, 2014, an Egyptian court sentenced 529 members of the Muslim Brotherhood to death, an act described by Amnesty International as the largest single batch of simultaneous death sentences we've seen in recent years, anywhere in the world. On April 15, 2014, an Egyptian court banned current and former members of the Muslim Brotherhood from running in the presidential and parliamentary elections. Leadership, Murshid, of the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt have been founder and first G leader Hassan al-Banna O section, second G la Hassan al-Hudaybi O paragraph Uso Permil, third G la Mar al-Tilmizani O to the first UO plus or minus O Mo UO Permil, fourth G la Muhammad Hamid Abu al-Naz UO Mo Oxem O UO micron O plus or minus. Fifth Gila Mustafa Morsi UO micron OUU Permil UO plus or minus. Sixth Gila Maimun al-Hudaybi UO paragraph Uso Permil. Seventh Gila Muhammad Mahdi Ekf UO Permil O to the first O Florin U. Eighth Gil and current leader, Mohamed Badi UO al-Uso to the first. Beliefs, stated platform and goals. The Brotherhood itself describes the principles of the Muslim Brotherhood as including firstly the introduction of the Islamic Sharia as the basis controlling the affairs of state and society. And secondly work to unify Islamic countries and states, mainly among the Arab states, and liberating them from foreign imperialism. It denounces the catchy and effective terms and phrases like fundamentalist, and political Islam, which it claims are used by Western media to pigeonhole the group, and points to its 15 principles for an Egyptian national charter, including freedom of personal conviction. Opinion. Forming political parties. Public gatherings. Free and fair elections. In October 2007, the Muslim Brotherhood issued a detailed political platform. Amongst other things, it called for a board of Muslim clerics to oversee the government, and for limiting the office of the presidency to Muslim men. In the Issues and Problems chapter of the platform, it declared that a woman was not suited to be president because the post's religious and military duties conflict with her nature, social and other humanitarian roles. While underlining equality between men and women in terms of their human dignity, the document warned against burdening women with duties against their nature or role in the family. Political strategy. In his writing, Hassan al-Banna outlined a strategy for achieving power of 3 stages: the initial propaganda stage, the organization stage, and, finally, the action stage. Political viewpoints. The Brotherhood's self-description as moderate and rejecting violence has created disagreement among observers. a Western author interviewing 30 current and former members of the Brotherhood in 2011 and found that the brethren he talked to emphasized important exceptions to the position of non-violence, namely conflicts in Afghanistan, Bosnia, Chechnya, Iraq, and Palestine. Traja quotes the former Supreme Guide Mohamed Morsi as telling him, "We believe that Zionism, the United States, and England are gangs that kill children and women and men and destroy houses and fields. Zionism is a gang, not a country. So we will resist them until they don't have a country." Traja and others have also noted the MB's use of the honorific Sheikh to refer to Osama bin Laden. While the Brotherhood differs with bin Laden and al-Qaeda, it has not condemned them for the 9/11 attacks because it does not believe they were responsible. A recent statement by the Brotherhood on the issue of violence and assassinations condemned the killing of Sheikh Osama bin Laden by the United States, saying, "The whole world, and especially the Muslims, have lived with a fierce media campaign to brand Islam as terrorism and describe the Muslims as violent by blaming the September 11 incident on al-Qaeda." However, according to authors writing in the Council on Foreign Relations magazine Foreign Affairs, at various times in its history, the group has used or supported violence and has been repeatedly banned in Egypt for attempting to overthrow Cairo's secular government. Since the 1970s, however, the Egyptian Brotherhood has disavowed violence and sought to participate in Egyptian politics. Jeremy Bowen, BBC Middle East editor, calls the Brotherhood conservative and non-violent. According to the Israeli-affiliated media watchdog group Memory, the Arabic-language website of the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood has displayed much anti-Semitic and anti-Israel content. A report by Memory found articles engaging in Holocaust denial, praising jihad and martyrdom, condemning the Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty, calling for the destruction of Israel, and condemning negotiations with non-Muslims to regain lands lost by Islam. A common motif of the website is anti-Semitic conspiracy theories warning Muslims against the covetous and exploitative nature of the Jewish character. On March 13, 2013, the Muslim Brotherhood released a statement opposing the UN declaration End Violence Against Women on the grounds that it would undermine Islamic ethics and destroy the family, and would lead to complete disintegration of society. In the book Secret of the Temple, written by Gammāʿat el-Kerbawi, a former member of the Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt, Kerbawi explores the ideology of Morsi and the small group of leaders at the top of the movement, examining their devotion to Sayyid Qutb, a radical ideologue executed in 1966 for plotting to kill President Gamal Abdel Nasser. The book has been dismissed by Brotherhood leaders as part of a smear campaign. Relations with non-Muslims, talking to television channel France 24 shortly before he was elected president, Mohamed Morsi stated, "The majority of the people are Muslims and the non-Muslims, are brothers, are citizens with full responsibilities and rights and there is no difference between them. If any Muslim says anything other than this, he is not understanding Sharia." However, after he became president, critics complained that attitudes of and actions by Brotherhood leaders concerning non-Muslims changed. In late April 2013, a fatwa issued by a member of the MB General Guide's Office, Abd al-Rahman al-Bar, forbade Muslims from greeting Christians on their Easter holiday, explaining that Easter and resurrection were contrary to the Muslim faith. Jesus did not die and was not crucified, but rather Allah gave him protection from the Jews and raised Jesus up to him. Which is why we do not greet anyone for something we strongly believe is wrong. The Israeli-affiliated media watchdog group Memory quoted Coptic and opposition leaders attacking the fatwa and noting that in the past MB leaders and even al-Bar himself had not only allowed but practiced the greeting of Christians on Easter. Columnist Ala al-Arabi in the daily al-Wafd attacked the fatwa as politics disguised as Shari. Al-Bar's previous view reflected the position of the MB at that time but now that circumstances have changed, and the MB is in power, he has changed his position. Another article in newsobserver.com noted President and former MB official Mohamed Morsi has done little to assuage concerns of Christians by being slow to condemn the latest round of sectarian violence in April 2013, not attend the naming of the new Coptic Pope, and having no plans to attend Coptic Easter services, an annual custom of the former Egyptian president. In August 2013, following the 3 July 2013 coup and clashes between the military and Morsi supporters, there were widespread attacks on Christian Coptic churches and institutions. USA Today reported that 40 churches have been looted and torched, while 23 others have been attacked and heavily damaged. The Facebook page of the Muslim Brotherhood, a unregistered trademark Freedom and Justice Party, was rife with false accusations meant to foment hatred against Copts, according to journalist Hassan Powers. The party's page claimed that the church had declared war against Islam and Muslims. Despite the Christians' relatively minor role in the campaign against President Morsi, the page justified the attacks by saying, after all this people ask why they burned the churches. Later it posted, for every action there is a reaction, and the Pope of the Church is involved in the removal of the first elected Islamist president. The Pope of the Church alleges Islamic Sharia is backwards, stubborn, and reactionary. On August 15, 9 Egyptian human rights groups under the umbrella group Egyptian Initiative for Personal Rights, released a statement saying, in December Brotherhood leaders began fomenting anti-Christian sectarian incitement. The anti-Coptic incitement and threats continued unabated up to the demonstrations of June 30 and, with the removal of President Morsi, morphed into sectarian violence, which was sanctioned by the continued anti-Coptic rhetoric heard from the group unregistered trademark leaders on the stage throughout the sit-in organization. The Brotherhood applies a highly selective membership process which gives its internal cohesiveness and ideological rigidity, and is unique among Egyptian political social organizations in its breadth and depth of networks. The long and closely monitored membership process is thought to have prevented infiltration by state security during the presidencies of Anwar Sadat and Hosni Mubarak. Its structure bears some similarity to a similar Islamist party, Jamaat-e-Islami, in having a hierarchical organization where many supporters do not reach the level of full members. Potential members are recruited by recruiters who do not at first identify themselves as brothers to prospective members. Estimates of the Brotherhood's membership and supporters vary between 600,000 and 100,000. According to anthropologist Scott Atran, while the Brotherhood has 600,000 dues-paying members in Egypt, it can count on only 100,000 militants in a population of more than 80 million Egyptians. The New York Times describes it as having drawing on support from hundreds of thousands of members and millions of affiliates and sympathizers throughout Egypt. How unified and powerful the Brotherhood is disputed. Former Deputy Chairman, Mohamed Habib has said, there are fissures in the Brotherhood, and they may be to the very core. There is concern among the younger members that the leadership does not understand how to unregistered trademark going on around it. Another high-ranking member, Abdelmonem Abul Fotu, who was recently expelled from the Brotherhood, warned of the possibility of an explosion. Other observers have described the Brotherhood as Egypt's most cohesive political movement, with an unparalleled ability to mobilize its followers. According to journalist Karim Fahim, following the 2013 crackdown, group has fallen back on the organizational structure that sustained it for decades, when it was banned. He reports that the Brotherhood is becoming more decentralized, but also more cohesive and rigid. Supporter levels, MUIB. The lowest level of the Brotherhood is the MUIB. One is typically a MUIB for 6 months, but the period can be as long as 4 years. A MUIB is part of an Usra which closely monitors the MUIB's piety and ideological commitment, working to improve the morals of the MUIB. An Usra meets at least once a week and spends much of its time discussing members' personal lives and activities. The Usra usually has 4 or 5 members and is headed by a Naqib. Miyad. A MUIB graduates to Miyad after confirmation that the MUIB prays regularly and possesses basic knowledge of major Islamic texts. This stage lasts from 1 to 3 years. A Miyad is a non-voting member of the Brotherhood. Their duties include carrying out tasks such as preaching, recruiting, teaching in mosques assigned to them by superiors. They also follow a rigorous curriculum of study, memorizing sections of the Quran and studying the teachings of Hassan al-Banna, the founder of the Brotherhood. Muntazib. This process lasts a year and is the first step toward full membership. As one brother put it, a Muntazib is a member, but his name is written in pencil. A Muntazib continues to study Islam and now tithes the Brotherhood, Muntazim. This stage typically lasts another 2 years. A Muntazim must continue memorizing hadith and complete memorization of the Quran and can assume a lower-level leadership role, such as forming an Uzra or heading a chapter of Uzras. Akamal. This final level is reached after the subject loyalty is closely probed. An Akamal can vote in all internal elections, participate in all of the Brotherhood's working bodies, and compete for higher office within the group's hierarchy. Offices and organs, Murshid. Head of the Brotherhood, Maktab al-Irshad. Maktab al-Irshad consists of approximately 15 long-time Muslim brothers including the Murshid, who heads the office. Each member of the office oversees a portfolio on an issue such as university recruitment, education, politics, etc. The office executes decisions made by the Mali al-Shura and passes down orders through a chain of command, consisting of its deputies in each regional sector, who call their deputies in each subsidiary area, who call their deputies in each subsidiary populace, who call the heads of each local Uzra, who then transmit the order to their members. Mali al-Shura. This consists of approximately 100 Muslim brothers. Debates and votes on important decisions, such as whether to participate in national elections. Elects members of the Maktab al-Irshad. Social services. The Brotherhood operates 21 hospitals throughout Egypt, providing modern medical care at subsidized prices. It also operates job training programs, schools in every governorate in the country and programs to support widows and orphans. An estimated 1,000 of the roughly 5,000 legally registered NGOs and associations in Egypt are run by the Brotherhood according to Abel Futau, a leading Brotherhood member. Its clinics are reputed to have more available basic supplies and more up-to-date equipment. However, the Brotherhood's network of organizations is complex, sometimes operate under different names, and is difficult to track. The Brotherhood's response to the 1992 earthquake in Cairo, where 50,000 people were made homeless, was an example of the group's effectiveness, compared to that of the Egyptian government. It quickly mobilized to provide victims with food and blankets and setting up makeshift medical clinics and tents for shelter. According to Karim Fahim, following the 2013 crackdown, members have started to abandon activities like preaching and social work as they focus on resistance to the military-backed government. Muslim Sisterhood. The Muslim Sisterhood is the female division of the Muslim Brotherhood. The members of the Muslim Sisterhood have been traditionally more involved in charitable activities than other members of Muslim Brotherhood. They are credited with keeping the Brotherhood together during the dark days of the 1950s and 1960s when many male members were intentionally dispersed across Egypt unregistered trademark as prisons in order to cripple the apparatus, but the sisters acted as an informal prison support network, carrying ideas and messages from prison to sustain the Brotherhood, and were vital to their rebirth. The work of the Muslim Sisterhood has helped to attract new members to the Muslim Brotherhood. Many of these members come from university campuses, mosques and trade unions. During the Egyptian Revolution of 2011, members of the Muslim Sisterhood have become more politically active, and they participated in the founding of the Freedom and Justice Party by the Muslim Brotherhood in April 2011. Not an auxiliary group, they intend to play an equal role in the government. See also, Muslim Brotherhood, Egyptian Revolution of 2011, Brotherhood Without Violence, References. Further reading, Udo Ulfkott, Der Heilige Krieg in Europa Euro die radikale Muslimbruderschaft Unsergesellschaft bedroht. H-Born Verlag 2007, ISBN 978-3-8218-5577-6, Moura, Andrea. A Genealogical Inquiry into Early Islamism, The Discourse of Hassan al-Banna. Journal of Political Ideologies 17, 61 85 doi, 10.1083/135517.2012.644,986 Moura, Andrea. The Inclusive Dynamics of Islamic Universalism, from the Vantage Point of Sayyid Qutb Unregistered Trademark S. Critical Philosophy. Comparative Philosophy 5, 29 €54, Johannes Grindman, Islamische Internationalische Eurostrukturen und Aktivität Currency 10 der Muslim Bruderschaft und der Islamischen Weltliga. Wiesbaden 2005, ISBN 3-89500-447-2, Gilles Kipel, Der Prophet und der Pharaoh. Das Beispiel Ägypten, die Entwicklung des muslimischen Extremismus. Ma 1/4 NCHEN ZAR 1/4 Rich 1995. Matthias Carr 1/4 NTZEL, Jihad und Judenhass. Freiburg im Breisgau 2003, Richard P. Mitchell, The Society of the Muslim Brothers. London 1969. Emmanuel Xavier Frères Musulmans dans l'ombre d'Al-Qaeda, Editions Jean-Cyril Godefroy, 2005, Xavier Tunisien les Frères Musulmans, Fayard, 2005, Latifa Ben Mansoura Frères Musulmans, Frères Far Copyright Rosissa Voyages dans l'enfer du discours islamiste, Editions Ramsey, 2002, Paul Landau al-Sabre et el-ekhwan, Tariq Ramadan et les Frères Musulmans à la conquête de l'Europe, Editions du Rocher, 2005. Ted Wendy Alternative oder IRRWEG? Religion als politischer Faktor in einem arabischen Land, Marburg 2001. The Wat el-Kerboya Secret of the Temple, Nahdetmais Publishing House, Egypt 2012, ISBN 978-971,405,597. External links, IKHWAN Online, IKHWAN Web, Al Jazeera Profile, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood Al Jazeera English. Guardian, The Muslim Brotherhood Uncovered, Jack Schenker and Brian Whitaker The Guardian. BBC Profile, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood BBC News. Egypt, The Misunderstood Agony New York Review Yasmin El-Rashidi. Egypt, The Rule of the Brotherhood New York Review Yasmin El-Rashidi.